AI Max is being called a Google Ads cheat code by some and a complete waste of money by others. In this video, I break down exactly what AI Max is, how it works, and whether or not it deserves your Google Ads budget. So what actually is Google's AI Max? Their latest big development when it comes to using AI, as the name would suggest, as part of their Google Ads platform. And very simply, it is a setting within your search campaigns. That might make it sound like something fairly minor. It is not. It's a really big deal. And if you do use AI Max as part of your search campaigns, there's three sort of core features and big things that AI Max will do. Firstly, you get search term expansion. So Google will go beyond the keywords that you select and put your ads in front of searches or even in front of people that might be searching for something completely irrelevant to your product or services, but Google thinks that type of person, that user, may be interested in what you have to sell. And Google has tons of flexibility, can really go beyond what you select. They can even choose the keywords to target in the first place as part of AI Max. So that's the first really big deal, is that it's sort of the beginning of keywordless targeting, or we should probably say a big continuation of keywordless targeting. And obviously it applies to search as well. The second big feature is text customization. So Google can write your headlines, write your descriptions as part of AI Max, really put the ad together. Often they're going to take what you've already written, if that's what you've done, and set up your campaign that way and expand on it, much in the same way they will with keywords. But Google can automatically generate those assets, as they have been able to do in other elements, but it's really sort of brought together and done in a way that is designed to be automated first, as opposed to like additive as it is elsewhere with automatically generated assets. And then number three is final URL expansion. So effectively Google can choose which page on your website to send people to. So instead of everyone just going to the same place, that might be how you've set up your search campaigns, or perhaps you have different ad groups or different campaigns for different products and services. You've got some people being sent to some URLs, others being sent to other URLs. Well, Google can just work it out. They're like, right, even though we're advertising the same thing to these two different people, we're more likely to get conversion in either case if we send this person to this landing page and this person to this landing page. So some really smart stuff, and you really want to think of AI Max as sort of performance max campaigns, if you're familiar with those, but for search campaigns specifically. So let's quickly make the case for AI Max, and it is a compelling case. There are a number of points that I want to quickly run through. So first, it unlocks new search volume because Google can put your ads in front of searches that are not as relevant to do with your keywords, very different from your keywords, can put ads in front of people that maybe aren't even searching necessarily right now for your products or services, but Google thinks they might be in a position to convert. So the potential expansion in terms of search volume is huge. Don't think of it as just like a 10% increase. No, much more significant than that. So if you want to expand, you want to scale, can be a great way to do so. Secondly, we've got performance lift stats. So Google's obviously run a lot of experimentation around AI Max and compared it to not using AI Max. And right now they're claiming a 14% increase in conversions. Some advertisers would disagree with that. They say that when Google runs these experiments, they often use large advertisers. Maybe it's not as representative across the board. But I would say, we've probably seen a small improvement in using AI Max in comparison to not using AI Max so far. And that's only likely to improve over time. So if we're looking at an average of 14% right now, that percentage is likely to increase as it gets smarter, as it improves. And when you combine that with the third point, the fact that using AI Max is a massive time saver, so you don't need to manually research every keyword. You don't need to craft every variation of ad copy because Google's going to do a lot of that for you. Well, if you can get even a small improvement in performance and combine that with the fact that you haven't had to spend hours, days creating the campaign, doing all the research, like I said, a pretty compelling case. And you've got smarter automation as well. What I mean by that is you can combine the sort of user intent, what they're searching for, with where they end up. That's that final URL option where Google can choose to send people to different landing pages depending on what they're searching for and what they might have looked at recently and all the various data points that Google has, right? And I really like that things like AI Max, and we're seeing this with AI features across the ad platform, they're able to customize and tailor the experience both from the ad and then the destination to each individual and try and get a higher conversion rate from each individual by doing so, which is smart tech to be able to do that. But if you understand marketing, you understand the value in personalization. People have been doing it in email marketing, just using someone's name for ages. And when they first started doing that, that led to a huge increase in open rates on emails and consumption rates. And this is obviously a much more sophisticated version of that, but that's to demonstrate how important personalization is. So I think for a lot of Google advertisers, AI Max feels like a shortcut, feels like a way to get cheaper conversions, feels like a way to get more conversions, feels like a way to save a lot of time. And it absolutely can be a good option for beginners who don't know what they're doing. And if they go to set up things manually, then they're likely to break things. So we do also need to look at the case against Google's AI Max, but first I want to let you know about my Google Ads mentorship program. As part of my mentorship program, we give people the support they need to get the best possible results from their Google Ad campaigns. And if your Google Ad performance is important to your business, then this might be right for you. So as part of our Google Ads mentorship program, we have someone from my team, either me or one of my experts, available on a live call up to 10 hours a day, spread across multiple time zones, because we have people in the mentorship program from all over the world. And that means that you can jump on at basically any time and get your questions answered. If you want us to have a look at a specific campaign or an offer, or help with tracking issues, or look at overall strategy, or have a look at your landing page, whatever it happens to be, you can get answers to those questions basically in real time. This is a level of support that no one else provides. We also have one-to-one Slack support, we have exclusive course material, the whole package, like I said, to help you get the best Google Ads possible. If that sounds interesting, you can book a free, no obligation call. There is a link in the description. Go ahead and book that call, and hopefully we get a chance to work together. Okay, so let's quickly make the case against AI Max, because there are reasons to not use AI Max. Let's quickly run through those, okay? So firstly, loss of control. AI can match irrelevant searches, low quality searches, put your ads in front of people that are just not as likely to convert. This is particularly likely to happen in ad accounts where Google doesn't have much conversion data. They don't necessarily know the best searches or who is likely to convert. And that leads into point number 2, which is that particularly in those ad accounts that don't have a huge amount of conversion data, whilst Google is learning, they can overspend and waste your budget. Because if you set things up manually, you can give things more direction. You can specify keywords. You could use things like exact match and phrase match keyword match types to really focus things in and make it less likely that budget's going to be spent over here, which is wasted, and budget's going to be spent over here is wasted. But no, it's just channeled. Whereas with AI Max, Google's going to do a lot of experimentation. They're going to put a bit of budget over here, put a bit of budget over here, put a bit of budget in the right place. After a while, work that out, learn, and then progress. Now, the AI Max setup might work better with more data as you get more conversions over time, but it's likely to not perform as well in those early days, even weeks, particularly, like I said, with newer ad accounts. It can be risky for certain businesses to allow Google to automate. So you could have Google pull ad copy from your website. That's where Google's getting a lot of the information it needs as part of AI Max to produce headlines, descriptions, etc. It's going to pull info from your website. Well, if that's not really well up to date, if there's some stuff there that's not relevant that Google's able to find, if you haven't got a site that you're sort of really happy is orderly and organized and neat and all makes sense, Google could pull some stuff that just doesn't make sense. It could represent the wrong brand voice. It could put ads in front of people that maybe even don't make sense or don't represent your brand how you would like them to be. So that's something to watch out for, and to do this properly with AI Max, you really want to make sure that your website is in tip-top shape. And connected to this point is another really big potential issue with AI Max for certain businesses, and that's if you're operating in compliance-heavy industry. So where there are strict regulations over what you can and can't say. Think finance, health, legal, stuff like that. Using AI Max, really risky, because Google could produce ads that you just simply are not allowed from a compliance standpoint to run. So those sorts of businesses are going to struggle the most with using AI Max. They might just have to not and focus on things manually, even if AI Max produces better results, even if it gets smarter, even if it saves time, all the pros we've already talked about, because it just simply cannot risk certain ads being put in front of people. Like I said, that information is going to be drawn from your website. It's going to be generated based on data Google has. So I think those are the main cons, is that in the early days in particular, AI Max can waste a bunch of budget, but also you've got what ads are going to be put in front of people. Because it's being done on a personalized level, you're never going to be able to review them in advance, even difficult to review them after the fact, after it's been created. And for certain businesses, that's a real problem. Okay, so when should you use AI Max? There's a few scenarios, right? So firstly, if you've run traditional search campaigns and you feel like you've maxed out the search volume, you've scaled, you've reached a sort of scaling ceiling, that is a perfect scenario to go ahead and give AI Max a go. AI Max is going to be able to find extra search volume. Definitely use it in that scenario. Not the only scenario in which to use it, but definitely one where you do want to give it a go. If you have high quality landing pages or website, you're really happy with the data and information on there, you feel like it represents your brand well, and you've got clear conversion actions and accurate tracking set up. So you have it optimized so that people are likely to take the action you want to take, purchase, become a lead, etc. And you have conversion tracking set up, and that data is being fed back to Google so Google can accurately see who does and doesn't convert. That's what all these AI automation-based tools need. is accurate conversion tracking, then perfect scenario to give AI Max a go. And I think at this stage, for most advertisers, you should think of AI Max as a supplement to other campaign types or even other search campaigns that you might be running, not necessarily a full replacement. I'm just going to run AI Max and I'm going to not bother with anything else. Okay, so when should you avoid AI Max? Well, if your website is messy, the structure's all over the place, you've got things on there that haven't been carefully tidied up and detailed, then you want to watch out. If you're in a compliance-heavy industry where you need to really control your messaging, almost certainly need to avoid AI Max. That could get you in a lot of trouble. I would also encourage you to not use AI Max if you don't have the budget to tolerate really big swings, particularly early on in results. As Google is doing a lot of experimentation and testing, like the more testing is done, the worse your results are in the short run. Testing is very much a short-term versus long-term trade-off. The more testing you do, the worse results you are in the short run, the better they're likely to be in the long run because you find things that work that you wouldn't have found had you not done the testing. That's true whether you're testing manually or Google's doing the testing as part of an automated campaign type. So it's absolutely the case with Performance Max campaigns and absolutely the case with AI Max. So you're likely to get worse results early on, better results later. Some businesses can tolerate that. Advertisers a bit more experienced are often better able to tolerate that emotionally, even if not just financially. So if you can't get your head around and you don't have the budget to cope with that, then you might want to keep things really strict. I'd also be wary about testing AI Max on a brand new ad account with no conversion data or little conversion data. Google doesn't know how to get you conversions. Again, what I just described about wasting budget and testing early on, that's only going to be amplified in those ad accounts. In a second, I'm going to explain the best way to test AI Max within your Google ad account. But first, I wanted you to know about Hyros. Hyros is fantastic tracking and attribution software and can really help you improve your Google ad results. It's a software that all the big players in the industry use, including myself. I use it to track results for my own ads across multiple platforms, including Google Ads and all my organic results as well, which is super helpful. So if someone, for example, comes through and books a call for our done-for-you services, I can see exactly where that person came from. This is particularly important if you're running ads across multiple channels or generating customers organically as well. Without accurate data, you are flying blind, and knowledge is power. So let me show you how important this is. So I'm here in my Hyros dashboard. I'm going to take a look at the data and the results that Hyros has been able to track and compare those to what I'm seeing within my Google ad account for the same campaign. So this is a Google ad campaign that we've been running. We're only looking at data for a few days here, but it really demonstrates what's going on. So you can see Hyros has registered 6 leads generated, a cost per lead of just over £15, 75 clicks. It's just a branded search campaign, hence why the CTR is 30%. So not a huge amount going on, but representative, right? So that's the data we can see within Hyros. If I jump over to my Google ad account, we look at the exact same campaign, same time frame. We've got May 21st to 27th. You can see a lot of the data matches up, right? We've got 75 clicks, 30% CTR just like before. But if we scroll over, you can see that Google has only registered 3 conversions as opposed to the 6. So it's registered half the number of conversions. And I can tell you, looking at the back-end data, that the 6 from Hyros is the accurate number. And that's why this is so important, because we might look at the Google Ads data and come to the wrong conclusion, think this isn't profitable, turn stuff off when we shouldn't, but we can verify it with the Hyros data and make much better, more informed decisions and end up with better overall ad results because of it. So if you want to improve the performance of your Google ad campaigns and be able to see exactly where your leads and sales are coming from, go ahead and sign up to Hyros. There is a link in the video description. So I've got some recommendations on the best way to test AI Max within your Google ad account if you feel like you meet the criteria and that's something that you want to do. Firstly, you can run experiments with Google's built-in split testing tool. When you do so, I would limit AI Max testing to just 1, maybe 2 campaigns if you've got lots of campaigns running. And even within that, do so with a relatively small proportion of your budget. Because if it works, you can always increase that. If it doesn't, well, you haven't spent a huge amount, potentially wasted money on something that's not working out for you yet. You want to regularly check that your conversion tracking is working properly and accurately sending conversions. A lot of Google advertisers will get it set up. They'll see that, okay, yeah, everything looks fine. They won't think to recheck that. And then they can get a few months down the line and realize, oh, wow, actually the data, I've been optimizing based on the data within my Google ad account. As has Google, by the way, but that's not actually accurate. If we can, confirm that with the back end, we've got an issue. Like that'll kill your campaigns quicker than anything else. If Google can't accurately see conversions, then how can Google optimize properly? And so much of the advantages of things like AI Max are in the optimization. Monitor results very closely. Be prepared to reverse course. Treat this as a test and an experiment. If it doesn't work out, absolutely fine. You ran a test. You found out that it doesn't work for you yet. It was well worth running that test because had it worked, it might have been a bit of a game changer. If not, you can stick with manual search campaigns. And then, here's my last recommendation around testing, retest in the future. AI Max is only going to get more powerful, more sophisticated over time, so it doesn't work today. Doesn't mean it won't work in 6 months or 12 months. So look to retest again with a small proportion of your budget. So the current verdict on AI Max, whether it's a cheat code or a waste of time, really depends on your specific circumstances, which we've obviously run through, and also how you treat it, right? If you treat it like it's a shortcut and don't give it any inputs and don't try and, improve your website or anything like that, then yeah, it's likely to be a waste of money. But if you think of it as something that can supplement manual campaigns, then it might be a bit of a game changer and can be a cheat code in terms of getting significantly better results. If you've already tested AI Max, I'd love to know how that went for you. Did it improve performance or did it just waste budget? Please let me know in the comments below. And next, I'd recommend that you check out my Google Ads optimization checklist. I go through it in this video here. I walk you through exactly how we optimize our Google Ad campaigns, including how often we hit each optimization point. That's really important. So if you haven't already, go give it a watch.